Hey guys, Wano here and welcome back to another video. So today we're going to do an interview with someone who has had a lot of experience in the tech shop or online shop, PC shop, whatever the case may be, industry, and find out how and why everything is exactly the way it is. So we're going to cover a range of topics from shop experience, UPS, solar power, tech pricing, etc, etc. So if there's anything you guys want to know specific, I'm going to use timestamps so you can just skip to wherever you want to be. And without further ado, I want to say welcome to everybody who is new and welcome back to my fellow One Army subscribers. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. Also like the video, that really helps me boost in the YouTube algorithm, and we are then able to help more people understand how everything works on this channel. So yeah, if you want to know something else, let me know in the comment section down below and we can try and cover your questions in future videos. So let's just jump right into it. Yeah, okay, well, I want to welcome Cisco today. He's from the company called AC1Tech, and as most of you know, I recently went into partnership with them and I'm super proud of them as my sponsor. So welcome Cisco to the channel. It's been the first time that you've been here, obviously. I don't do a lot of interviews, so yeah, this is a new one for me.
No, thanks a lot for having me, Wano. Yeah, it's something that I know a lot of people don't do, and they don't talk to a lot of companies outside in South Africa. So I definitely appreciate you having me on today to speak to you a little bit.
Yeah, it's something that a lot of people has been asking me, and I don't always know the answers to their questions. So obviously I have to do a lot of research and stuff, and it's very time consuming. So I just decided, and when you actually suggested it, I was extremely happy because I was like, okay, cool. Now I can just throw in every single question that I have and that people have asked me and just get them answered in one video. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. Let's go.
Yeah, no, most definitely. I think it's one of those things is you see a company, you see different businesses, but you never get to interact face to face, or at least hear from them and stuff. It's always how they put it, a faceless company.
Yeah. It's kind of insane, and that's what I like about you guys. You're much more personal than most of the other companies that I've dealt with. Even stuff like Iniva, which is a game key company that I partnered with a while back. They're also kind of faceless. The emails are weird. There's everybody can speak English, but it's like a weird language barrier where I'm trying to figure out what she says and she's trying to figure out what I'm saying, and it's like this weird back and forth. But it's not personal. It feels like I'm talking to a wall, basically. So it's fun to have somebody that I can actually directly speak to, somebody that's in the same mindset as I am, and everything like that.
No, most definitely. I think when we formed AC1Tech, our goal was more to be a company that people can talk to. You want people to interact with you. You want them to talk to you because we come from a very similar thing where we were just gamers. And we interacted with. You interact with a company, you buy something, and then it's just to get a hold of them is a mission. That's why I'm that kind of guy. My private number is out there on our website for people to contact.
That's amazing. That's really amazing.
So that's kind of the thing. It might change, if I get 1 million calls a day, but I mean, in retrospect, until that point, I'd like to first face to face or be on it as much as I can. I like doing in-person delivery sometimes as well to the guys, so I can meet my clients, because I feel that it's better to grow a business by growing a community instead of just growing a business because I want to make money. Because look, no one's going to say they're not in business for money. So money is always going to play a role, but in my aspect, I'm more there to build a community and less about becoming rich from having a PC business.
Definitely. All right, so I kind of put the questions from easiest to not hardest, but to more advanced questions. So I decided to start with the shop experience or everything that goes on in the backside of the website or your business. And the first question is, what is the order process like from the shop or website side when people order something from the website?
All right, so I mean, it's going to vary to a small extent from I guess company to company, but in our case, a lot of the stuff that we don't have on hand, once an order is placed with us, then immediately an order gets placed with either the suppliers, or if we have it in stock, then it will come out of our stock. But 90% of the time when it's expensive things, GPUs, motherboards, things like that. They generally get ordered out from a supplier, and then depending on which supplier, it either gets shipped directly to a client, because some suppliers offer that. Other than that, it will get shipped to one of our offices either in Joburg or in Cape Town, and then from there it goes out it gets repackaged and then shipped out to the client through whichever courier service we have in our areas. We have like jump from courier to couriers, and it can be a mission.
You actually kind of answered two of my questions in one go.
Well, let's go. I mean, I can elaborate if there's like more in-depth questions, and I can elaborate on them.
No, it's amazing. Yeah, that also explains why there's sometimes a long time that people have to wait for the hardware, because a lot of people complain they wait a week or 2 weeks for hardware from any company, whether it be EveTech or you guys, wherever the case may be, and that kind of explains why and what the process is in regards to something like a whole PC build or a GPU and expensive motherboard and something like that.
Yeah, look, I mean, that's going to vary, I guess, from company to company. I mean, to the extent where you look at something like a pre-build, there are some suppliers in South Africa that offer pre-builds.
Okay.
And then you also get companies like, for example, us, we will do custom builds for people. We won't necessarily say, hey, we have all these custom builds available, but we do offer building custom PCs for people. So yeah, if it comes from a supplier, it can be that it takes a long time. And I mean, even for us to wait for stock, it varies heavy from supplier to supplier, but most companies, for us, we get our stock in 2-3 days. It gets sent out to our offices. So I know the average wait time. At least we've got it down to a T now, but our average wait time, if it's just a certain item or something, if there's no building required or anything like that, the average ship time is about 5 days.
Okay, well that's pretty quick actually. Wow.
Yeah, that's what we found out. We have also found out if we have if someone orders something that say they ordered early in the morning, say before 2 o'clock or whatever. You can tend to, if it gets ordered, your lead time is like maybe 2 days.
Okay, that's pretty awesome.
So it all varies. But also, it all depends on which supplier, what content. Like there's a lot of like other roles that get played within the shipping and all that stuff.
Okay, cool. All right, so another easy question is, what is the most common thing that people buy on websites like yours, like Woodware, EveTech, AC1 Tech, and anything like that?
You see, that becomes very subjective. It all comes down to, I guess, what time of the year it is, to be honest. If you're coming closer to a launch of a new product, like let's take, for example, the 12 gens, which just recently came out, your order on 12 gens are very low. Commonly, so far, we've seen the highest amount of orders are RAM. Usually for either upgrades or faulty RAM or whatever. Second to that, you've got storage. Unlike most people, that always push, hey, graphics cards. Surprising enough, graphics cards is one of the lowest ordered things, at least from us. I think when it comes to a company like Woodware, I believe their GPUs would be higher up on the list. Mainly because of the brands that they provide. So that's also a big thing, brand differences. But in our case, at least so far, it's been RAM and storage has been our biggest, things that people have sellers. Our biggest requested items are laptop, but weirdly enough, laptops, we don't try not to focus on laptops because of the massive variety of laptops. We see that people are either buying really high-end specific laptops that you need to go search to find for a client, or they're buying really low-end. So you've got this whole middle range of laptops that are available, but most people aren't buying. If most guys are serious about gaming, there's a good chance they're buying a PC instead of a laptop. And if people are just getting it for office work, there's a better chance that they're buying a low-end laptop just to get the office work done.
Okay, that makes sense. All right, so this is kind of I think like a question that a lot of people has been wondering about. What is it like dealing with courier companies that break stuff that people ordered from you guys?
Okay, so we are very blessed at the moment that we haven't had all too many issues with that. But it also comes down to our packaging. I tend to, if I ship it out myself, I tend to pack the living balls out of it. I got to make sure that it gets to a client. I mean, we've shipped from our Joburg offices to Durban and all those places.
Yeah.
So it takes a long trip, but it also comes down to the time that people are willing to wait for an item. I've realized in previous businesses, not so much with this, but with previous business that I was in, the faster we ship an item, the more likely it is to get broken in shipping.
Yeah. That makes sense because of all the preparation and the packaging and stuff.
Exactly, but also how the courier works, because now it needs to be picked up by your office, then it needs to go to a hub. From the hub, it needs to either go to the airport hub or goes out to the client the next day. It all becomes a hurried process, and as soon as you hurry anything, then you at a higher chance to break things. We do have good insurance with most of the courier companies, so most of them cover the damages, but then also it all depends on how expensive items are. We shipped out 100,000 rand PCs. And to ensure that just gets there is another thing. And then you get a 500 rand RAM stick, which usually just gets by and gets there. But most of the processes with dealing with the courier companies, it is a bit of a mission to get your funding back from even insuring it, because insurance companies
they are quite heavy on not paying anything.
Exactly. But I mean, so far, considering the amount of couriers we went through before we started choosing which couriers to work with, it does. We've kind of tried to iron it out on our side to have as little damaged products as possible. It does sometimes take a bit longer to ship, but at least I know I'm going to send an intact component or PC or whatever to my clients.
Yeah, definitely, and the client would ultimately be a lot more happy than receiving something within 2 days or 3 days, but it's broken.
Exactly. That's the goal. The goal at the end of the day is to keep the client happy. It's after sales. It's not it's try to keep them happy while they're buying and make sure that they're happy after they purchase it. I don't want a guy to come back to me in a week and go, "Hey, it is a fuck up."
Yeah.
You want them to make sure that it's all in good nick and everything's fine.
Yeah, definitely. All right. So the next question is, how difficult was it for you guys to begin a tech shop or tech company with all the competition currently in South Africa?
Look, the competition's never a horrible thing. I think competition's good. I think it's good to see that there's so many guys starting businesses and stuff. But on the other hand, what I've come across more and more is you getting guys that are starting a PC business, not necessarily a legitimate business, but just, they're coming up with, hey, I've got a PC business where I'm selling these things. And then at the end of the day, they screw people over. I see it on a daily basis going through forums and groups and stuff where people are like, hey, be careful of this guy, be careful of this, be careful of this. So I think the biggest difficulty with starting the tech PC business has been trust. That's the biggest thing. I think in retrospect, it's easy to start. And I know people think it's hard, but it's generally easy to start a business if you've got the drive to do it. You don't necessarily need to have thousands of dollars, but that there's other things that come in with that. But it's sometimes just easier to scam people, and that's the issue. And I think that's been the biggest hurdle that we've faced is the trust issue. I've sat on phone calls with people like every day for like 2 hours because they've ordered a UPS and they worried that it's not going to come to them, or they've ordered a power backup or a solar panel. And, you just have to kind of sit with that guy the whole time. And I think that's why we're trying to keep our reviews high, where, people are satisfied with us and, they can see that they can trust us, and why we try and build a community, like talking to content creators and working with them and trying to work with events and stuff like that, and try working with other groups and, Facebook groups and stuff like that to kind of, make us not a faceless corp, and so that they can hold us accountable, because I love when people hold us accountable, because it helps us to improve, and also it shows our flaws so that people know that this is not like the angel of all companies, because every company is going to have their faults.
Definitely.
And I think that's the big thing is people are in today, and I see it people are too impersonal. It's I have what you want, buy from me, and you can have. And I tend to try not to be that. We try to be more personal and have people be able to contact us, talk to us, and have more of as close to a face-to-face
as
agreement
as
as you
possible.
can.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Well, I'm gonna move on to the next category, which is one of my favorites because I've been meaning to get a UPS from one of my friends, buying one from Cape Town, and I don't really understand how it works. Like, I know what a UPS does, I know kind of what the ins and outs is, but the specifics on how long it can power my system or like certain lights or something like that, I don't really know anything about that. So the first question is also kind of not an easy one, but for some of the people that don't know the difference. So what is the difference between using a UPS and using solar panels with an inverter and a battery to power your gadgets, PCs, or any other electrical appliances or appliances?
All right. So, okay, I'm not a big fan of UPSs. I'm going to come straight out, be open about it.
Yeah.
I'm not a big fan of UPSs. Not all UPSs, but certain UPSs, mainly because of the aging technology that UPSs are based on.
Okay.
So UPSs are good for oh no, something's happened, I need to save my product and move on.
Yeah.
UPSs aren't made for sustained use.
Okay.
The people can say what they want. Go look at any UPS review on, let's say, Takealot or wherever. Most guys are going to be like, worked great for a few months, now it doesn't work. Or worked great for a year, it powered everything for 5 hours, and now it's like 3 months later and it's getting me 30 minutes.
Yeah.
The thing is, UPSs work on essentially old school, like a car battery.
Yeah.
So it only has so many charging cycles. So as soon as you start hitting those charge cycles, you start suffering with a UPS. So the UPSs are all dependent on, if I look at, it all depends on quality. But what we are seeing now in the tech industry is you're seeing what they call mobile power stations.
Yeah.
These are essentially kind of a combination of solar and UPSs, where you have a lithium ion backed power system, which is way better than the old tech that UPSs are running on.
Yeah.
But you've got a UPS power supply that is running on lithium ion batteries. You can either charge it via a wall socket, or you can charge it via, solar or whatever. So it's kind of like a in-betweener between the two.
Okay.
And those seem to be better because lithium ions are just a better technology when it comes to batteries.
Yeah, and a lot newer.
So that's kind of they're a lot newer, they can take a lot more charge, and they can also put out a lot more power. So, you're getting small ones that can run your PC for like 6 hours, which you're not seeing in UPSs.
Yeah, definitely not.
So that's kind of your thing. When it comes to solar, I myself use a solar backup, like you said, with a battery and an inverter. Now solar backups are great. Mainly because they're not limited to your PC or whatever, and you kind of it becomes a return on investment over time as long as you go decently. If you're buying a cheap Chinese solar panel, you can't guarantee like it's going to work perfectly for the next 5 years.
Yeah.
When you're going for higher end, let's say you go for LG, Samsung, RTC, something like that are kind of more reputable when it comes to solar panels.
Yeah.
You've got a return on investment, which you don't really get from a lot of other things.
Yeah.
And also, yes, the batteries are more expensive, but also if I take it, I've got something like a 200 amp hour battery cell, and I can comfortably run 2 PCs off of my inverter for at least 6 hours without having a problem.
Damn. Okay.
So it all depends. It's solar is more expensive. UPSs are cheaper, but there's a reason. They always say don't buy cheap, and that's the problem with UPSs. UPSs are cheap, but they are very unreliable in the long run. Power stations are a very new technology, but they kind of fall in the middle ground of pricing. And then you've got solar panels, which are way more expensive, but scalability on a solar panel is just something that is unmatched at the moment when it comes to like a reserve power, maybe a generator or something like that. But when it comes to more of an eco side, solar panel, the solar panel kit through and through is your better option. And I mean, anyone can put up a solar panel. It's not that difficult.
Yeah.
The only problem comes when you need to wire it into a wall or whatever. But if you use it as a standalone backup, any guy with a drill can do it.
Yeah, definitely.
So
I have, I know somebody that recently put up solar panels for his entire house. I think he has like 2000, I think it's like amp hour solar. I don't know how solar panels work or what the measuring is of solar panels, but I know it's 2000. I think it's watt actually. Yeah, or whatever.
Yes, you're looking at what?
Yes, okay, so he has 6 2000 watt solar panels with a very big inverter and obviously the battery and everything like that. And he basically runs his entire house during the day with that solar panels, like just a little bit coming from the municipality. And it saves him about, I think it's like 700 Rand a month, which means he's going to get a return on investment within, I know it's a long time, but it's like 20 years or 15 years or something, but then he has literally saved all the money that he spent on the solar panels, and he is intending to use those solar panels for the rest of until they die, you know. So it's a really great way on in the long run to have that backup power, and obviously it saves you a lot of money.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, look, the thing is, you can actually probably save more, but I'm assuming what he does is he sells the power back to Eskom.
Probably.
If you run it as a standalone system, you can probably run an 8-panel system, and you can make your money back in 2 years, give or take on you. If you cut your Eskom immediately, which is a mission, but if you had to cut your Eskom, say today, and you put up a solar system, it will probably cost you 2 years worth of electricity to put it up. That's not taking into account the rise of electricity prices.
Yeah.
But you could essentially, on a decent enough kit, you could make your return on investment in 2-3 years.
That's insane.
And if you look at something like LG's solar systems at the moment, they rated that after 15 years you will be running at 87% efficiency on your panel.
That is
which
really
is
insane.
Which is one new panel every 15 years that you need to add to sustain that power.
Yeah.
Look, it's bold claims and that's what they claim, but I mean, if that is remotely true, that means like every 10 years you need to buy a new panel just to sustain that, and then you're going to be making more because that one panel is going to be more powerful. So that's why I still think solar, if you really want to go backup, go solar. If you don't have the money, go for a power station. And if you really on a tight budget and you just kind of need something for, the power just went out, I need a cover, then I'd say go for a UPS. But if you can afford to not go for a UPS, go for something slightly better. It's gonna pay off in the long run.
Okay, cool. Well, that answers like a lot of the questions I didn't even put on the interview. A lot of the things that I personally have been thinking about and wondering. All right, so I'm going to move on to the next one, and it kind of answers another one of the things that I've been wanting to know. What does it mean when a UPS is, for example, like I think I picked like the lowest and the cheapest one on your website. It's a very small UPS. It's 100 watt, 46 watt hour, and 14,400. I think it's milliampere per hour.
Yes. So usually when you see the watts come up, that's usually the maximum amount of power it can put out.
Okay.
So something like this would be fine for a low spec laptop. So most laptops nowadays, they come with a USB-C power brick. They're running 60 watt, 90 watts, whatever to power them. That would be perfectly fine to power your laptop or whatever. So if you take in consideration that's a 14,000 milliamp hour battery, so let's say your laptop has, I don't know, let's say it needs 5,000 milliamp hours to fully charge. Then, or like a cell phone, let's take a cell phone uses about 500 milliamp hour or 5,000 milliamp hour batteries. A laptop that could probably charge your laptop full one time.
Okay, cool.
If that makes sense. So that will probably give your laptop maybe 1.5 charges. So your watt rating is usually, the watt rating would be usually, depending on what brand or company it's from, but your watt rating is normally the maximum output that your UPS can give. Your watt hour is how much power it has in, how many watts per hour it can give out. And then your milliamp hours is going to be the size of your battery.
Okay, cool. Okay, and for the next one, going into the VA spectrum, what does it mean when a UPS is, for example, 1,000 VA, and how long can it run, just like an average, let's say, budget PC?
Okay, so so your VA is kind of similar to your watts, but your VA is more rated on what is the maximum possible before I die kind of power output.
Yeah.
So, 1000 VA will normally give about 800 to 900 watts of actual power.
Yeah.
I heard a guy explain it quite well. It's basically like you filling a glass with a glass. You basically have a glass of Coke.
Yeah.
Your VA is going to be your Coke plus your phone.
Yeah. Okay.
Where your actual capacity is actually only where you've got your Coke.
Okay, yeah, that's a pretty good and basic explanation that obviously a lot of people understand.
Yeah, that's a very basic way of explaining it, but I think it's easier for people to understand that.
Yeah.
And then the length doesn't really have to do with the watts or the VA. So if you look at let's say you have a 1000 VA power supply or 1000 VA UPS. Yeah, your maximum power draw, let's say if you have a 700 watt power supply in your PC, you're not going to be drawing the full 700 watts, but to be safe, let's say you have a 700 watt power supply and you have a 32-inch display or 24-inch, which is more common. Yeah. But let's say you got like a 32-inch display and you've got that will be like the bare minimum of what that UPS can handle.
Okay, and how do you measure how long a PC would be able to be powered with that UPS?
See, that becomes more difficult because you've got the fluctuating power draw from your PC.
Yeah.
If you're going to be relying on it for work, you're probably not going to have a very strong PC. It's probably not going to be for gaming. Yeah. That's fine for, covering the, keeping your PC on so you can do a bit of work.
Yeah.
Let's say the average UPS, like I said, you're getting like 2-3 hours at best out of that UPS. So, when you go to higher amp hour or milliamp hour batteries and stuff, you're looking at longer times, 6, 7, 8 hours. Yeah. When you're looking at a UPS, it's literally just a absolute necessity work that you can do on it. Okay. So, if you had, let's say you had it at a 14,000 milliamp hours, maybe 20 minutes.
Okay.
So you're not getting a long power draw from from something like that, because it's just not made for sustainability.
Yeah, definitely. One of my friends also in Cape Town, he has a UPS, and he actually kind of explained to me, he has 2 batteries in it, but I can't remember the capacity of it, and he told me with his PC and his 2 monitors it can power around 20 minutes, and I was kind of confused on why it was like that low, but but you kind of explained it well, so I think I understand that now.
Yeah, that's your big thing. When you get to say having watt-hour batteries, then you're getting better. So your milliamp is your smaller watt. So a 14,000 milliamp hour battery will be a 14 watt-hour battery essentially.
Yeah. Okay.
That's kind of a better way to look at it. When you really want to run a PC, you want that watt-hour. Power, because your PC draws a lot of power. People forget that a PC can actually draw quite a lot of power over a long time. So if I can give you an example, I'm just pulling a spec sheet here for a power station.
Yeah.
So this power station, let's see, this a maximum output of 500 watts. So probably not the best for a PC, but let's say you got a low-end budget office PC. It's got a 500 watt-hour battery. You're looking at, if you're gonna run a laptop on it, a 50-watt laptop, so that's something like those low-end Huawei's or something like that. Then you can put it for 10 hours on 50 watts.
Okay.
But then you go up to something like a 40-inch TV. Then you're looking at like 100 watt draw, give or take. Then you're looking at 5 hours of draw. Yeah. So you got to think about it when you're starting to pull something like a PC, which is like 500 watts or 600 watts. You're looking at maybe an hour worth of power.
Yeah, definitely. I actually have an i7 6700K in my system with I think it's a 1050 Ti right now. I had the RX 570, but it's a 1050 Ti now, which is obviously a low power consumption GPU and a few other things. And I also have 2 monitors. And I think without the monitors, just my PC alone, when I play a simple game like CSGO, it draws about 350 watts of power, like continuously, which is kind of insane when you think about it.
You see, so essentially, your PC alone is drawing the power of 3 TVs.
Yeah.
So, if you can draw it for 5 hours, you're ready, dividing that power up immediately because of the amount of draw your PC is taking.
Yeah.
And like you said, you're looking at low powered products. You're looking at 1050s, which aren't very high powered.
Yeah.
When they're pretty energy efficient for what they do. And that's the thing. So, putting 300 watts, you're putting that thing dead in, let's say best case scenario, 2 hours, you're pulling a power station dead.
Yeah.
And those things are looking at 3-4, that's looking at that's a 54,000 milliamp hour battery.
That's insane.
That's like that. So that's way higher than most UPSs are, and you're kind of pulling it dead quite quickly.
Yeah, and that's even excluding the 2 monitors, because every monitor obviously also draws a lot of power. And I think a monitor, I don't know how much mine draws, but a monitor, like 2 of them can also be like at least 100 and something watt or 200 watt of power drawing with your PC.
Yeah, let's say they're 24 inches, then you probably could be drawing around 50, 60 watts per screen.
That's literally insane when you think about how much power your PC actually draws, especially when you play games. So when it's in idle, it's obviously an entirely different case. Then you can maybe draw like 100 watts in total without your screens, but or whatever the case may be, depending on the system. But when you play any sort of game and put any stress on your GPU or CPU, the power goes up so much. Yeah. It's incredible.
You know something weird that people don't think about it, but the hertz that your monitor is at.
Yeah.
The higher the hertz, the more power you draw. So if you're running 144 hertz at, you're utilizing that full 144 hertz, you're actually drawing more power. It's incremental, but you're drawing more power than you would if you were running a 60 hertz monitor.
Well, I'm not overclocking my monitor anymore. No, I'm kidding.
Look, I mean, it's not going. You probably won't see the
difference.
A massive difference.
Yeah.
But when you're running on something like a UPS or a solar system, you start to see that extra draw that you're getting from those devices.
Yeah. All right. So moving on to the next question, do you recommend that every gamer has to have at least a UPS or something to save the PC for like power outages or ESCOM's load shedding and stuff like that?
Look. These days, I did back, a few years ago when load shedding was heavy, I did have a lot of people come to me with, hey, my power supply went and stuff like that. But your big thing is when the power goes out, turn off your PC.
Yeah.
Plug it out, turn it off by the power supply. Try and reduce as much immediate power flow to your PC. Put your PC on auto boot when there's power connected to it, something like that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of ways that you can go these days to protect your PC. Buy a surge plug.
That really helps a lot, the surge plugs.
Exactly. Buy something. You buy those specific safeguard plugs and stuff that you can get that kind of has like the shaved, negative pole and stuff. Get things like that. UPSs just to protect your PC is almost a waste, because if that UPS goes, you're out way more than you are buying a 150 Rand surge protective plug or 200 Rand surge protective plug.
Yeah, definitely. I've also seen and spoke to somebody about it. When the power goes out, it doesn't really damage your PC as much, but when the power comes on and your PC was connected and everything, that increased surge obviously can hurt your power supply. So that's why you have to have the surge protector or plug out the PC or something like that, because that increase in surge, the moment ESCOM's load shedding stops, for example, that can be the one thing that hurts your power supply or your PC. And I've actually had the thing happen to me. I think it was like 2 months ago maybe, where I was playing a game. I was playing Scum with one of my friends and my wife, and the power went out and it came on and I played again and everything like that. Everything was normal, and I think it was like 12 a.m. or something, and my PC just suddenly, everything went dark, and I was like, oh damn, it's load shedding, but it wasn't. And the next moment, I just heard a big explosion, and my power supply was flames coming out of it. And I thought, okay, crap, that was the power. It's Eskom's fault. And surprisingly enough, when I opened the power supply, it actually wasn't because of Eskom. It was because somebody else, because I bought the power supply secondhand, somebody else actually tampered with it, and the fuse went a long time ago, and somebody bypassed the fuse on the power supply, and that actually caused everything to go haywire when the power went out the whole time.
You see, that's the thing, you know, most electronics these days, especially with PCs and stuff, you know, you're getting PCs that have, you know, lightning protection on the boards.
Yeah.
You know, you're getting power supplies are becoming better and better, so you're getting better protection on them and all those things. So there's so many protocols that are being put in place now to protect tech that I still think spending that amount for a UPS not worth it. I mean, I can see it with my own thing. My office and everything is all protected from the surging, and when the power goes off, we turn everything off.
Yeah.
But at home, my main TV was not plugged into a surge protector, and the power supply went.
Yeah.
And it didn't go immediately. It went after like a week of load shedding.
Yeah, definitely.
It went because the practice wasn't there of doing that. But I think that's one thing with gamers and PC guys, and it's something we don't do. And I know 90% of us don't do it.
Yeah.
Just plug it out when you're done with it. You know, I know it's a mission. Most guys have their PCs on their desks these days. Just plug out the power or plug out the main switch by the wall. You know, do something like that just to slightly protect your PC from, or turn it off at the mains.
Yeah.
You know, just to give that extra protection for when that power kicks back on.
Yeah, definitely. Because obviously with the power supply, everything doesn't just go kaboom. You know, it's capacitors. They start to swell and everything, and after a while they lose almost all of the capacity, and that causes everything to go haywire most of the time. Or the resistors that blow up because they can't handle all the surges and everything. But anyway, apart from that, I would like to move on to probably the most interesting and the most sought after answers on my channel, obviously because I'm a PC tech channel mostly. The first question is, why are most PC components so much more expensive in South Africa than in other countries? And let's take GPU prices for example.
All right. Okay. So this is an interesting one because I love when people bring up, hey, MSRP.
Yeah.
What people forget, there's a lot of things that come into play. The first thing is demand. South Africa, yes, we are a relatively decent sized economy, but if you look at the scale that GPUs, for example, sell in the States, there during the chip shortage there were no GPUs available.
I saw that on videos.
Yeah, you had guys standing queues. You had to, and I think up till now, if you take one of the big retailers like Micro Center, you actually get a ticket to say you can come buy a GPU. I think it's now getting better, but that's how bad it was. You had to get a ticket to go buy a GPU at a retailer. Now scalping was a big thing and all those things, but that doesn't really matter with the pricing. But if you look at the number of GPUs that are sold in the US, it's massive. Canada, for example, which is right there, Canada very seldomly to almost never as well reaches MSRP prices. Because it's not as big a market again. So market plays a massive role in everything, and it also depends on where you're buying a thing from. So Nvidia comes out, they say, okay, gents, the MSRP is $100 on this card.
Yeah.
Okay. That's if you buy an Nvidia card. But not just an Nvidia card, you buy one manufactured by Nvidia or one of its really close partners like EVGA.
Yeah.
Because EVGA and Nvidia are very close to being the same company because of partnerships and semi-ownerships and all those things.
Yeah.
You're not buying directly from Nvidia. You are buying from a subsidiary, whether it's Pallet, whether it's MSI, whether it's Gigabyte, whether it's ASUS, you name it.
Yeah.
Nvidia sells a chip to, let's take Pallet, because Pallet's a massive thing in South Africa right now.
Yes.
They sell it to Pallet. Now Pallet makes X amount. The reason Pallet becomes a bit cheaper is Pallet makes GPUs for other companies as well.
Yeah.
for example, what is it, Gainwind or something in that line.
Yeah.
They make their GPUs as well. So they have a mass production of the amount of boards. So that comes another one. How big is their production?
Yeah.
Gigabyte and Pallet are two of the bigger ones. That's why you see the prices go lower for them in general in South Africa, where companies like ASUS and MSI also sell a lot, but they're more higher. They're considered higher end components. But also, you've got, now you go, okay, which manufacturer is making the most boards? The more they make, the cheaper it is for them to make a board, so the cheaper they can sell it.
Okay.
Then, when it comes to South Africa, you've got, you've basically got 4 major importers of GPUs when it comes to the general PC market of most of the stores you see.
Yeah.
You have guys that import Gigabyte, ASUS, MSI, and things like that. So they have to pay a cut when they bring it in. So they buy it from MSI for whatever price. So MSI has their markup on it.
Yeah.
Then you got to bring it into South Africa. So that means your shipping to South Africa, your customs for South Africa, your insurance to get it here, all those lovely things. Once it then arrives here, then they need to now make a cut because everyone needs to pay staff.
Yeah.
So that company then needs to make a cut on those components as well. So they add their cut to that product, and then they've got to pay tax.
And
Or
tax is
VAT.
That's a really big thing, because that obviously increases the price a lot, just the VAT alone.
Exactly. Now they need to pay VAT. So when I purchase it from a supplier, I need to pay that VAT that they're now charging on their product. So when I've got to pay VAT, and then I have to pay VAT on the profit I make on top of that product. I need, as a company, also need to pay my fees.
Yeah.
So everyone is paying a little bit of fees to everyone, whether it's the government, whether it's the shipping company, whether it's the courier company, whether it's covering your staff bills. Guys like Nvidia and AMD don't take, when they say MSRP, they don't take into consideration the cost, and most people don't take the cost behind the product.
Yeah.
It's, I see that at that MSRP and I want to sell it at I want to get it sold at that price.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of other things that come up behind the lines when it comes to having to buy a GPU and selling a GPU. So at the end of the day, every little thing comes up. That's why you'll sometimes you'll find a company like Takealot, for example, selling, let's take something completely out of the ball, but say a cell phone.
Yeah.
You'll find Takealot will be cheaper with a cell phone than, let's say, Vodacom. But in the same sense, then you'll see a smaller company that would pop up that will be even cheaper than Takealot. Because once again, everyone who sells on Takealot needs to pay their, has to pay X amount to Takealot.
Yeah.
And everyone then the guy who opens his own little small business, he cuts out one of those lines. So now he can sell it cheaper than the other guys. It also depends on what his markup is. How high does he want to put his markup and all those things.
Yeah.
But that's the main reason I don't believe we'll have release date MSRP. So eventually a product will come close enough to MSRP because it gets older. We're seeing it now with 2060s being re-released. 2060s are coming close to MSRP, but it's 2060s. People are talking about the 2040s and 30s and all that nonsense coming up. But right now we're looking at, that's the price on, that's kind of coming now towards MSRP. So that's why I think we'll never get true MSRP in South Africa when it comes to GPUs.
Yeah, I think the only place where you'll actually get something even remotely close to MSRP is if you, like you said, buy from NVIDIA or AMD themselves at their specific places, which is probably in the USA or places like that, because they actually manufacture everything and then they sell it directly. So there's no any kind of markups on everything. They already cover all their costs right there. And places like you said, like South Africa, have all these other steps that I have to take, all the different people that has to pay their different people and has to pay tax on this and that tax on that, and everything all obviously adds up. And that's why even a few days ago when I told you I saw on the one website where I think it was the 3050 was like the MSRP is actually like 3,400 rand or something like that, and in South Africa you will not get it lower than like 6.7k. Which is literally double the price, and it's not because people are greedy per se, but it's because they literally have no choice but to sell it at that price to make any kind of money.
That's the thing, you know. And also, I mean, let's say you buy it from the States, of the imports, duties and taxes, yes, you're gonna get it cheaper than buying in South Africa. I'm not gonna lie to people that you will get it cheaper, but the hassle, the time it takes, and the other things that you need to do to get it into South Africa, and that's also considering you can buy a GPU in in America right now. It will cost you cheaper, but you are not getting it landed in South Africa for MSRP.
Yeah, definitely. All right, so that answered one of the biggest questions I've had on my channel. A lot of people asking me, why do I have to pay so much in South Africa? I've seen it on Facebook, on the Zaga group. It's insane how many people don't really understand why the prices are the way it is. If there was, per se, NVIDIA branch in South Africa, which is obviously 99% unlikely, that might have been a different story. It might have been a little bit cheaper, but it's not going to be anything close to cheap or as cheap as the MSRP, because we are living where we are living. Anyway, moving on to another question, which is actually supposed to be on the store side of questions, but it's kind of like random from here on out. Okay, so is it easier to have stock as a supplier or as an online store, or is it easier to get stuff from your supplier, or better actually?
Okay, so that question becomes okay. So it's better to have stock on hand. In all honesty, if you can have stock, it's better. But your thing comes on, what is your financial input to to get those components? How much do you need to get in financial backing in order to actually have stock? When it comes to something like GPUs, and I'm seeing it now even with suppliers, there was a big request for 3050s when they were just released. So every supplier, every guy bought up 3050s so that it spins in the dirt. Now your problem is you have an overflow of stock of 3050s. But now what happens is, I buy, let's use smaller numbers, but let's say I pay MSRP, so 3,500 rand for that card. We saw it now in the past month where GPU prices have significantly dropped. Some of them have dropped $2,000 in price.
It's insane.
Now, if I bought it at $3,000, I can't sell it at $3,000 because then I'm making a loss on my product. So I think for most guys, the suppliers focus on, you've got some suppliers that have catalogs as thick as high school textbooks or as university textbooks. They stock so much, so their knock on a product is way lower than, for example, a small business trying to keep stock. So I know a lot of like retail stores will keep stock, but also they're very limited. That's why when you walk into a retail store, you'll see maybe they'll have 1 or 2 GPUs in stock.
Yeah, I've definitely seen it, especially at places like Matrix Warehouse, and I think there was another place that I walked into in Bloemfontein when I visited there like a few months ago. They usually don't have a wide variety of different GPUs, or not even a lot of the same type of GPUs. Usually 1 or 2 sets of the same GPU, and like maybe 5 or 6 GPUs in total in the entire store.
Yeah, now that's the thing. So you can keep it on hand, but the thing is, you've got to recoup that money. So if you're sitting with old stock, you can be sitting with it for a year, 2 years, and that doesn't move on. But if you have a central supplier who supplies, say 10 other companies, they can afford to bring in, because now they can divide that between 10 companies. A company like Matrix has stores in every town there's a Matrix.
Yeah.
So Matrix can afford to buy like 20 GPUs because as soon as one store's out, they've got 20 different avenues to send components to.
Yeah. Yeah.
But for a single business like AC1 Tech, for us to keep stock, especially when I get people that ask me, hey, do I have inverters in stock? And then you're looking at 40,000-50,000 Rand products.
Yeah.
So if I've got to keep one of them, that's 50,000 Rand in revenue that's sitting there not moving.
Yeah.
Then, let's say I never sell that inverter. I've basically taken 50 grand, thrown it down the drain, and that's it.
Yeah, that's a lot of money to lose.
Yeah, so I think if you look at a lot of the bigger companies like EveTech and Wootware, if you look at where they're situated, they are situated within running distance from a lot of component importers.
Yeah.
So for them, if they say that they are, and that's why where I'm situated and where the two AC1 Tech offers also, we're also within like throwing distance of a component supplier.
Yeah.
Because it just makes it easier that I don't need to rent a massive warehouse, so I can keep my costs low.
Yeah.
For my business. So that means I can keep my costs lower for my clients.
Yeah, definitely. It makes.
So I know a lot of people have this thing about, as they say, drop shipping or whatever they want to call it.
Yeah.
But it allows us to keep our costs down, which allows us to ask less for a product because I need to make less money to cover my cost, which then in turn allows me to sell a product at a lower markup to someone else because it still makes enough money to keep a business running. But on the other hand, it is not so much that I need to worry about what I'm going to do with my stock that comes in.
Yeah, well, that answers that question. All right, so another GPU question. Do you think that the GPU prices in South Africa is going to drop any more than it already have?
Okay, so considering that new GPUs keep coming out, I think prices will continue to go down dependent. So it's very dependent. So I believe they will go down. And I knew from the get-go, we saw with with your video like on the 3050s.
Yeah.
The initial price was almost on point with where you were looking at them. And then it wasn't something like a week later the prices went down.
Yeah, a lot.
Yeah, because what happens here is you have companies that like I said, you've got multiple companies that supply different graphics cards. So you also get different tiered companies.
Yeah.
So what will essentially happen is one company will bring in a GPU, and then that will kind of be the standard until the next guy gets his shipment in, and then the standard changes. And then the next guy gets his shipment in, and the standard changes. And then it also depends on demand. If there's no demand for 3050s, big companies will stop importing 3050s.
Yeah.
And then we'll sit with a shortage of 3050s again, or 3060s or 3070s or whatever. Because if less people are wanting it, less companies are buying them in. So the lower the stock count in the country is, the higher the price goes. So I think we are looking at fluctuation on prices. I do think we're going to see a price drop. I don't think it's going to be as dramatic as what we're having now, because I think we're kind of getting to a level out price where the MSRP and the South African RP is kind of coming to a balance. If the whole world drops, then it comes. But if you look at like some of the guys talking about it now, cards are in the States coming very close to MSRP now.
Yeah.
I even saw a guy saying in Canada they're coming very close to what they normally are MSRP wise. And I think that's a good sign to look at, that the only time is going to really start going down now is when you're going to start seeing companies, you're going to start seeing the companies are bringing out new cards. So Nvidia, AMD are going to start bringing out their new cards. And then you're going to kind of see the prices dip, and then you're not going to find them on the market anymore. AKA why you can't find 10 series and you can only find 2060s, only because Nvidia recently re-released the 2060 as like an upgraded way, trying to cover the strain of the market kind of GPU.
Yeah, definitely. I saw the RX 5000 series cards, for example. I think the 5500 XT maybe, I think was the only 5000 series card that was just in stock for like maybe a week. I think it was at Woodway or something. And apart from that, I haven't seen any 5000 series AMD card like ever, even like since it released. I saw it like for a while, and then it just disappeared and it never came back like ever.
That's what happens. So that's why I say, like, there's there's a limited amount of people actually still buying PCs in the country.
Yeah.
Especially high-end gaming PCs. It's growing every day, but there's a limitation. So a lot of companies will bring in, say, 10 GPUs at a time of each.
Yeah.
And then they'll see how quickly they sell, and then they'll bring in 10 GPUs again and see how quickly they sell. So it all comes down to what the demand is.
Yeah.
And it doesn't help for them to hold back stock.
Yeah, definitely. All right, so what do you think the GPU market or prices would look like by the end of the year in South Africa? Would it be kind of the same as it is now, or do you think it will be somewhat lower?
Look, considering that that's another problem, is end of the year, you're coming closer to holiday seasons.
Yeah.
And what a lot of companies do is they push the price. Because now it's festive season and you get festive markups. But I think the pricing will go down. I know Nvidia's busy testing GPUs now, so I don't think we're looking at I can't say, but I don't believe we're going to see a 4000 release the end of the year.
Yeah, definitely.
At the rate they're going now. But I do think that, with everything, let's say nothing bad happens in the world, because that's all subjective, but let's say nothing horrible happens from now until then, I do think GPU prices will go down.
Okay.
But I don't think people are going to see that drop that they're hoping for.
Yeah. I think the major drop has already happened.
I agree.
Yeah, the most... Like most graphics cards already dropped to a point where it fluctuates like 100 or 200 rand now, up and down, depending on obviously what brand you're seeing or what brand you're wanting to get. Because I think I saw the RX 6600 XT. Excuse me, I'm a big AMD fan when it comes to GPUs nowadays. Usually I didn't like AMD cards because they were kind of shitty up until the 500 series. They were really shitty. They had a lot of problems. Even the 500 series, I think I saw the 580. It just performed horribly unless you really knew what you were doing in the AMD control center when you fiddled with all the settings and everything like that. But with the 5000 and 6000 and the upcoming 7000 series AMD cards, I really have a lot of expectations and hope for them. So I really like those. But anyway, the 6600 XT, I think it came to as low as about 10k now, where it was like 14k just a few months ago. So it's kind of insane what happened there.
We saw a drop in some of our GPUs, like almost $2,000 in price drops.
Yeah, that's wow.
That's crazy. Yeah, and it literally all comes down to it like happened in a week.
Yeah, that's the crazy part. Like, you would expect something like that to happen within like 2 years or 1 year of it getting or becoming older hardware, newer stuff coming out. But this literally happened within like a week to a month. Most of these price drops.
Yeah, that's kind of where you can see like I call it the 2-week import time. If you look at like a 2-week, it takes 2 weeks, give or take, from the time they place the order till it arrives.
Yeah.
In that 2 weeks, everything can drop. I saw today monitors that have gone down, MSI monitors that have actually gone down in their pricing. Almost 1,500 rand.
Wow, that is insane for a monitor, because I've been looking for a monitor, especially 144 Hz, 24-inch or something, because I believe 24-inch is the perfect size for gaming, because then you don't have to like look around to see everything. But anyway, I've been looking at monitors, and I know people that have been looking at monitors. Also, one of my other friends from Cape Town, and it has always been just above too expensive for what it is. And to see those price drops, especially from a brand like MSI, which is obviously a very reputable brand, is just amazing.
Yeah, no, it's true. I mean, I saw some of those displays, where you had a display that was 13,000 a month ago, has now dropped to like 11,000 rand.
That's amazing. I don't really have words for how amazing that is, and that really helps out a lot of people who wants to get maybe a 32 inch or a 27 inch 165 or 240 hertz or something like that. That's a very good news for not just for the GPU market, but for PC gamers or PC enthusiasts as a whole.
No, most definitely, and that comes all down to it's weird. Production is weird because I know the pricing of panels are going down in China for them to manufacture a panel.
Yeah.
So the pricing is going down quite substantially. And with that price decrease, you're seeing with that price decrease, you're seeing that everything else is becoming cheaper. If I think about it, you can look at like getting 32-inch displays for like 8, 9, 10,000 rand these days.
Yeah, that's amazing.
So that's the big thing. I think pricing is very difficult. It's very difficult to trace these kind of things, and it's always going to fluctuate.
Yeah.
And I think it's good, but it also makes it difficult for the consumer because you never know.
Yeah.
What's going to happen.
Yeah, I actually had a guy who bought I think it was a 3060, and when I made my latest video on the pricing and what everything costs right now, what I saw at Woodware the one time, he literally he put up a crying emoji, and he told me he literally just paid, like a month ago, he literally just paid almost almost double that price. I think he paid like 14 or 13,000 rand, and the 3060 is now like 9,000, or not 9 but almost 10,000 rand.
Yeah, no, I actually saw the comment. I think I actually liked his comments. I actually also saw it, and that's true. And I mean, it comes down to that's how we feel as well. Working with the industry, is that I can't tell someone today, hey, buy this, because I don't know what tomorrow looks like.
Yeah.
I don't know what you're going to see tomorrow. I don't know what might happen tomorrow. Price. Well, I mean, talking about it, you can get a 3060 if you buy a short profile card. You can get it for around 9,000 rand right now.
Yeah, that's amazing.
You can pick up a 3060.
Yeah, and now for what it performs like and what the price is, it's up to a point now where it's like, okay, this is actually becoming worth it to get that extra bump in performance.
No, most definitely. I mean, I'm looking at it now, like, for example, an Asus GPU, it was only a few months ago 10,500 rand for that GPU.
Yeah.
Now you're paying just under 9 for it.
That's really, really amazing. All right, so coming to the last question, I want to ask you, what advice would you give people that are new to PC gaming? Because I've seen a lot of people going from console to PC nowadays, and they don't know what to buy or what their first PC is. I'm actually busy helping somebody right now. I actually have to go and reply to that comment now. A guy who went from console to PC, and he doesn't know what to buy. Because he obviously don't know how hardware works or what is needed for current gaming. So what advice would you give to new PC gamers to buy their first gaming setup?
Okay, so something that I think a lot of people overlook when it comes to new PCs is you don't need a 3080. You don't need a 3090. If you're going to play esport games, so you're going to play your basic Fortnite and stuff like that, go for a 3050. I know people sleep on the 3050s and they look down on the 50 series.
Yeah.
But in all honesty, if you want to go for the best bang for your buck right now, you probably a 3050 is kind of the sweet spot. You can go for a 3060. I'd always suggest, if you have the budget, go for the 3060s when it comes to GPUs.
Yeah.
But something like a 3050 is a perfect sweet spot where you're going to get good enough frames at a high enough resolution.
Yeah.
You're not going to be running ray tracing, to be honest. Like, it has ray tracing. I'm not going to be running ray tracing on a 3050.
Definitely not.
But you're going to be in that 60 FPS bracket where most, I know the newer consoles are going higher and higher, but you're going to be in the sweet 60 FPS. Most guys that are buying or just getting into PC are buying a cheap or have a cheap 60 hertz monitor.
Yeah.
There's no point in getting 120, 200 frames per second on your game if your monitor's running 60 hertz.
Yeah, and
there really isn't a big advantage to it.
Definitely, and I mean the 3050, for example, a lot of people like shit on it, but that card is still capable of running games like Cyberpunk with and any games with DLSS technology or FSR technology. That technology is actually amazing when it comes to the lower end new cards that come out, and even the card like the 3050 can run kind of demanding games like God of War or, like I said, Cyberpunk and games like that with the DLSS or the FSR options that they have.
Exactly. You look at Steam's results. The most used GPU right now is a 1060. That's your biggest thing of CPU of GPUs is the 1060. Another thing a lot of people do, and I see it from time to time, is a guy wants a Ryzen 7 or a Ryzen 9 or an i7 or an i9. Why?
There's no reason.
there is no reason. Your price jump is not. Your price jump doesn't make it worthwhile to go for those crazy things, because most guys that are getting into PC gaming aren't going to go for the most high intensive, unoptimized games. That you look at. A lot of people look at it and go, oh, but I want to play this game. Like, it's an early access, unoptimized game, so it's not going to run properly. Look how many years PUBG took to run properly. So my biggest advice is when it comes to, like, say, GPUs and CPUs, you don't need an i7, you don't need a 3070. If you can afford it, sure, go for it. But you don't need it as someone trying to get into PCs. You also don't need to buy a full-size ATX motherboard. That's another thing a lot of people make a mistake with. You don't need to buy a full-size motherboard. You get really nice mini ATX that have 4 RAM slots or even 2 RAM slots. Don't sleep on those small boards. They're well priced. They give you everything you need, and you can kind of, you can grow from there. If you really want to go for a standard size board, but don't sleep on the cheaper ones, especially when you're building your first PC or you just want to get into the space.
I think ATX boards, for example, are aimed a lot more to people who want to, say, overclock their CPU or stuff, or overclock their RAM, or whatever the case may be with that. And I think a lot of mini ATX motherboards also support overclocking, but the bigger boards are more aimed at PC enthusiasts. That's actually the word I was looking for. And that also goes for the Ryzen 7s, the Ryzen 9, the i7, i9, the 3070s, or the 6700, RX 6700s, and stuff like that. That's more aimed at people who already have a base knowledge of gaming and have the cash to pull out for those type of stuff, and people who want to get that extra boost in performance. But for newer people, it's not necessary. I mean, with 2 RAM sticks, you can still get 16 gigabytes or 32 gigabytes of RAM if you really want to. There is space for that, and with RAM sticks getting bigger and bigger, you can easily get, if you really want to push it with that mini ITX motherboard, you can easily get 64 gigabytes of RAM with that thing, and it will still work fine.
That's the thing. And another thing, stop going for RGB. No, I'm joking. I love RGB. If you're gonna be paying $200 more for RGB RAM, don't buy the RGB RAM. Definitely. Save that $200 and buy yourself a good air cooler. RGB is nice. Everyone loves having their PCs look like unicorns. We all love the RGB colors and stuff. Well, I can't really speak on that. Most people, I can't speak on that. I'm more of I've got a theme and I kind of stick with it. But you don't have, RGB doesn't make your PC faster. As much as we all love to make the joke, RGB does not make your PC go faster.
Definitely.
It doesn't give it any more performance.
Like my wife's PC, I call it the rainbow. The unicorn something. I don't know. I called it something weird like that. And obviously it has a lot of RGB in it, and everything is going unicorn poop everywhere. But my PC, literally, I have one LED. I have one LED in my entire system. It's my front fan. It has a green LED, and the rest of the case is just pitch dark with a lot of fans.
You know what? My whole theme for my setup is Star Wars Sith Lords. So I've got all these Sith figurines and stuff everywhere, and my case is blacked out with just like, you just see like an accent of red on my case.
That's insane.
it looks good because there's a theme behind it. It
Yeah.
doesn't look like everyone else's PC. You know, I think about my wife's PC is purple and white.
Yeah.
So she has one purple fan, she has purple lighting on her GPU, and she has a purple and white NCXT case.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's simple, it's nice, and everyone that looks at it and goes, that's a nice build, because it's not just unicorn vomit everywhere.
Yeah, that's definitely something to think about. And apart from all the questions that I asked there, something I just wanted to add is a lot of people want to get liquid coolers or water coolers because they think that it will boost their performance a lot. But I personally have a air cooler. My wife has a liquid cooler, but I have an air cooler, and I actually get my CPU stays colder than it did, or cooler than it did with the liquid cooler, because I have great airflow. So I think one of the biggest things that people have to focus on is, instead of going for the best three fan liquid cooler, just go for a case that actually has decent cooling, and get yourself a normal so you can get a deep cool air cooler, and it will work perfectly.
Yeah, see what people misunderstand about liquid cooling is nice, right?
Yeah.
If you've got a lower power chip and you shove liquid cooling on it, like a 3-fan liquid cooling system, it's going to keep that CPU cool. That CPU is going to run at max clock speed all the time.
Yeah.
But an air cooler just dissipates the heat quicker because it moves it away. Liquid coolers heat up. So short term, liquid cooler, fantastic. As soon as it comes to a long-term run of your CPU running for a long time, then you start getting the negatives of a standard, not custom looped, but a standard AIO. You start to lose the true value of that AIO. I mean, I still joke, my brother still runs his stock Intel cooler. But his i5, I think he's got the 60, I don't know. It's got a 6000 series i5. I can't tell you which one. I cannot remember off the top of my head right now. But he runs a stock cooler. That CPU runs, you can run it at 100% utilization. It is fully running its turbo boost, and it's running at like 70 degrees. 60 to 70 degrees. But that CPU is going on a stock Intel cooler, but the difference is he cleans that PC every week and redoes his thermal paste once a month.
Yeah, that's also another thing that's very important when you have a PC. Clean your freaking PC. I mean, people tend to forget that. I have a friend, the same friend that wanted to monitor in Cape Town. He never ever cleaned his PC, and he actually sent me a photo before he upgraded his system. That thing was literally a dust magnet. I think the PC was supposed to be black, but it was gray. Like it was ugly. And his PC got so hot because of all the dust and everything that his thermal paste hardened up to a point when he wanted to take off his Wraith cooler, and obviously AMD likes to run a little bit hotter than Intel. It got stuck so much that the CPU came out of the socket like without even unlocking it, and it broke the motherboard. So that is one of the biggest things that people tend to miss when they have a PC. Just clean your PC. It doesn't take that long.
No, most definitely. I mean, you don't have to go to the extent that, like, for example, I do, where I rebuild my PC once a month.
Yeah.
You don't have to go to that extent. But, keeping your PC clean. And guys, please, for the love of, I know we all have done it, and we all do it. Do not go to a garage and blow it out with the air compressor.
Yeah, that's not always the best idea.
Yeah, so there's nothing technically wrong with it.
Technically.
But moisture does build up in those compressors.
Yeah.
So if you do that, leave your PC for like 2 hours to make sure there's no moisture on it, and then turn it on. But rather just buy a tin of compressed air.
Yeah, I just want to say the exact same thing.
Yeah, it's a bit more expensive than going to the garage and blowing it out. But in all honesty, not the best approach you can take. But it is generally fine as long as you don't overspin your fans and all those wonderful things.
Going back to the point where I have an air cooler, I actually want to add this. Like I said, I have the i7 6700K, and it's overclocked to all cores 4.4. I think it's 4.4 gigahertz at the moment. Like it's basically always at 4.4 gigahertz. And with this air cooler, my PC is running at the moment 31 degrees, which is insane. And even under load, it doesn't really get hotter than like 70 degrees, which is absolutely fine.
Yeah, that's the thing, you know. It doesn't always come to I must have a liquid cooler, you know, to have the coolest PC on the planet. You know, you can have a perfectly fine running PC without having a really expensive liquid cooler or whatever on your PC. I mean, I can guarantee you now, my system is probably running hotter than yours is right now. And it's mostly because, well, let's see. I have a liquid cooler. I'm running a liquid cooler. I am now on idle. Only 2 cores are active because I'm literally sitting and doing nothing. But my current core temperatures, again, this is on a Xeon platform. So they do run a little bit hotter. I'm now with a double bay liquid cooler running at 40 degrees on idle.
But that is, at the end of the day, a Xeon CPU, which is a server grade CPU. So,
but I'm also running on only 2 cores. You know, so only 2 cores are active right now, and I'm at a higher temperature than you are, running a PC that does run a lot hotter, but then you'd expect the liquid cooler to do a lot better.
Definitely.
But it's not.
But it's not. But the good thing is, I don't have a stock cooler on. I'm not a really big fan of it. Not just because of the cooling capacity, but more the aesthetically wise. Like I can't even see the inside of my PC, but it irritates me if I have a stock cooler on. So I just went to the. I also have a deep cool air cooler, but it's one of those that's standing up like sideways. And that really works really well when you have sufficient cooling in your box, like a good airflow.
Look, I mean, I have a massive Cougar case. I still have one of those over the top size cases. I've got 3 massive fans in the front, so I've got airflow out the galore. But you know, at the end of the day, like my PC, the side panel is tinted black. So all I see is my GPU's red light shining through and my liquid cooler's red light shining through. Other than that, I can see nothing on my internals on my whole PC. So it also, if I had a red fan on an air cooler, it would look perfectly fine.
It would work and look perfectly fine. But anyway, that is the questions that I had for you today. I want to thank you so much for doing this and actually suggesting it in the first place, because I wouldn't have thought of it like ever, because I'm not the type of person that thinks about things like this. I'm more of a in the moment kind of guy. When I wake up and I'm busy working, I'm like, okay, I probably need to make a video right now. So then I create a video within like a few hours. But really, thank you for doing this. And I want to give a big shout out to AC1 Tech for being such an amazing team and supporting the channel. Both of you actually, all the calls, all the personal chats that we've had. It's amazing how supportive you guys are. And if you want to go check them out, I'm talking to the viewers right now, feel free to visit their website at www.ac1tech.co.za, and remember to use my code when you buy stuff, because it really helps out the channel. And if you want to go to their socials or visit their socials, their Facebook page and stuff like that, I will link it in the description down below. So once again, thank you for doing this. It's been an amazing hour and a half, I guess it was.
About an hour and a half.
I was expecting something more like 25 minutes, but you know, it is what it is. Definitely. But thank you. And
no problem.
And we'll definitely do this again. I'm actually thinking about doing something like